The following are a few things that happened when I was younger, and doing things with my brothers. Olan and I had an experience that was quite exciting. We were over on the river, close by the river. There was a sand bank where the road went down in a valley and left a bank on the side, and it was real sandy, but it had rained and the sand was wet, and we decided that we could dig in a tunnel, go in the bank and dig on one side and come around and through and up the other side and out, where we could crawl all the way around in the tunnel. Well, we got to where we could crawl all the way around in it, and we decided it needed to be just a little bit larger. So I was up on the high side where there wasn't so much dirt on top digging, and Olan was down on the low side. And we was up in there digging, and all of a sudden, boom, that thing caved in on us, trapped us. And I was on my stomach, and I was strong enough that I pushed my way out. And I looked around, and I couldn't even see Olan. He was completely covered in wet sand. So I jumped up on top of the sand pile and just started digging as fast as I could, and I dug right straight to his face. And he had his arm thrown up over his face where he didn't get any dirt in his face. And I got to him, and he said, "Oh." So I dug him out, and it could have been disastrous, but it wasn't, and we laughed about it. But we didn't tell our parents about it because we knew that they would get on to us and maybe let us know that we had done something wrong. That was one of the things that I remember very well, and it could have been disastrous. Then another time, I was walking down a cow trail over on close to the river, and down a trail there in the pasture, and I saw this big old bull snake crawling down the trail ahead of me. Olan was walking behind me. So I ran up and I caught that big old snake by the tail, and I was going to pop his head off. And I came up with him like over my head, and slipped out of my hand. It hit Olan right in the chest. And I heard him grunt, and I looked around, and he was pulling that snake off of him and carried the wadding out of him. And then another thing that happened along the way was during the time we were gathering maize. Maize is a feed that we had for the cattle and the horses, and it grew up and had a head on it that had the seed, and we cut the head off and threw it in a wagon. And well, Frank and I was heading maize, and we had got the wagon load and I was take it up and unload it in the crib. Well, the barn it was a high barn, and then down on the side it had a crib, shed-like thing on it, and that was where we had to unload the maize. So Frank, he was driving the team, and I was just riding in the wagon, and got up there and pulled in along the side of the crib, and he got over in there with a pitchfork and was unloading the stuff. So I just climbed up on the barn and sitting up there, and I needed to go to the bathroom. So instead of getting down off the barn, well, I just this shed had a corrugated tin roof on it, and so I just let it go down the barn, and it hit into that groove on that corrugated tin roof, and Frank was bent over to get a scoop full of maize, and it dribbled off hit him right in the back of the head, down his back, and I knew I was in trouble. Well, he looked up and saw me up there, and he started to come up after me, and I went off on the other side. It was a pretty big jump down on the other side, but I made it okay. But I had to watch him because I knew he was going to get me sooner or later. So we went back down in the field and was cutting maize, and he hadn't said anything or made any moves toward me until I guess I kind of wasn't watching him too close, and all of a sudden he had me. He got me down in the dirt, and he beat the tar out of me. And I don't blame him much after I think about it, but I didn't try that trick anymore. And then there was another time, a friend of mine came home from school, and they just lived a mile east of the school, or west of the school, and we lived 3 miles west of the school. So he was my buddy, and I stopped off at his house to play or whatever. And his mom had been to the store, and she had bought groceries, and was nobody home. So we went in, and hungry as boys that age always was. And old Carlos, his name was Carlos Brewer, and he opened the refrigerator, and there was a quart jar of mayonnaise in there. I guess that his mom had just brought home from town, and so he got that out, and we found a box of crackers. He and I sat out on the porch, and we ate that whole jar of mayonnaise and crackers. He got in trouble with his mom, but we devoured that whole jar of mayonnaise.